Hi guys, it's Session here. I'm making another video about my sorcery build. The previous video I was soul level 106 and I hadn't completed my stats yet. I did talk a little bit about the fact that I was going to be stopping at 120 because I felt that that's roughly around the soul level meta at the moment. Still undecided, still haven't really seen anyone concretely say this is now the soul level meta. But I think you're looking at 120, 125-ish around that area. So I decided to make a slight change to my character so that I could use a particular weapon, a very well-known sorcery weapon, a big-ass greatsword called the Moonlight Greatsword, which is this sword here. And it is beautiful. It's an absolutely amazing weapon. I love it. It was in Dark Souls 1, also a sorcery weapon there, scales with intelligence. Scales very well with intelligence. In fact, recently I've noticed that it scales now better with intelligence. Previously, before the recent revision, it scaled to C at maximum level, so +5. It was C rating, but now it's a B rating. So they've improved that. I've not really noticed that the damage has reduced, so it does just seem like it hits harder now. Which is really a surprise to me because previously when I was using this, you would be seeing it hitting for 275 to 300 and 300 plus damage on players, and that's an R1, just a normal R1 swing, which is quite high. I think is quite high. Alternatively, if you don't want to get this sword, if you don't want to go for the stats, because you can see there it requires 16 strength, and that's the biggest change to my build that I've made. So yeah, it requires 16 strength. You'll have the dex and you'll have the intelligence, but obviously the 16 strength is a bit of a hassle. You know, you might not want to put that many points into strength. I would certainly recommend that you do it, but if you don't want to, then you can always stick with the S-Stock, which is what I was using before. And that does like a great amount of damage as well. But what I would say about this S-Stock is you can see there it's a raw S-Stock, and in my previous video I was just using a standard S-Stock. I'd previously had a crystal S-Stock, but I did want to be able to buff it. So if you are not bothered about buffing it, crystal S-Stock. If you make it a crystal S-Stock, it will scale with your intelligence. Do that all the way. If you want to buff it still with crystal magic weapon or magic weapon, whatever buff you want to use, then make it a raw S-Stock. I made the mistake of leaving it as a normal S-Stock because I didn't realise that you could still buff raw weapons. I knew that raw basically means it has no attribute bonus, it just has a set amount of damage, which is great. You can use that, so you can use a variety of weapons and not have to worry about the attributes. But yes, you can buff it still. You can buff it still in Dark Souls 3. I don't know if you could previously. I don't think I ever really used the raw stat. So yeah, absolutely. Make it a raw S-Stock and then you can buff it, or make it a crystal S-Stock and then you don't need to buff it and it will still do a massive amount of damage. So yeah, that's my advice with those two kind of sword weapons. You know, you do need a sword. I think you can get through the game only using sorceries, but I would certainly recommend at least having some kind of physical weapon, and these are the two that I would suggest are your options, really. Absolutely go for one of these two. That's really what I would recommend. Now, the other change that I've made to my equipment while we're here is the Scholar's Candlestick. And the Scholar's Candlestick is something that I wasn't aware of the first time round when I played Dark Souls 3. I think I went through the entire game not knowing that you could use this to boost your magic damage, and some estimates suggest that it boosts it by up to 30%. Now 30% is a massive boost to your sorceries. You're going to be hitting 100 points more damage easily with this equipped. That's what I noticed anyway with Crystal Soul Spear. It was at least 100 points of extra damage every Soul Spear, so this is definitely worth having. You can see there that I don't have the stats to use it. The attribute requirement is 16 faith, but that's to use it as a dagger. And I'm not using it as a dagger, I'm using it as an offhand kind of buff. So as long as you're equipping things like this, so with this in your offhand, the dagger, and your staff in your main hand, then you will be able to do 30% more damage with each cast. So that cast there will be doing 30% more damage with that there. Obviously it does mean that you're a little bit more vulnerable. Obviously you can't have a shield with that there, but I think it's worth that sacrifice. You know, roll dodging is a thing. Get good at roll dodging. You know, I'm not perfect at roll dodging. It's tough. It is tough, particularly against players, especially ones who are good at feinting, meaning that they make you think that you're going to do, they're going to do an attack, and you roll, and then they get you. So you know, it's something that takes a little bit of getting used to. Roll dodging and having no shield, but it's certainly worth it as a sorcerer because the damage gains is just incredible. So that's something I would certainly recommend doing. So let me look at the stats and let me show you my stats now. So this is what I'm at the moment. I've got I'm at level 125, as I mentioned before. Vigor and endurance slightly bumped up there, where in the previous video they were at 20. At my level 120 build they were at 25, but obviously that wasn't mentioned in the previous video. It's just in the description, and you know, nobody ever reads the description. But yeah, so 25 vigor, 25 endurance. They've been bumped up slightly, beefed up. My attunement is at 50. And this is something that I've been criticised for, and I've seen lots of other people's videos where they show their sorcerer builds and they've only got 30, maybe some of them push it a bit more to 40, and very rarely have I seen, actually I don't think I've ever seen anyone that has 50, and yeah, I get criticised for that. I get a lot of stick for having 50, and it's not about having the attunement slots. Obviously having 7's great, but it's actually for me about having the FP pool, which you can see there's 326, because even with 326 FP at 50 attunement, I'm only getting 5 casts of Crystal Soul Spear off before I have to Estus, which I think is a little bit of a balance issue with Dark Souls 3, which wasn't present in the previous games because there was a set number of casts. Only in Demon Souls was there ever an FP bar, a magic bar, a mana bar. And in that game they balanced that by letting you have equipment which regenerated your FP. So it wouldn't regenerate super fast, but it would regenerate, so you wouldn't need to use items to replenish it so often. And in this game there's nothing like that. I mean, there is a couple of weapons or equipment that can replenish your FP, but it's very slow and it's hardly worth using. In my opinion, not worth using at all. It just seems pointless. So in this game I feel like that's a little bit imbalanced, and so to compensate for that I feel like I need 50 attunement. I think that suits my playstyle because I don't want to be punished so often by having to keep estusing, because I use a lot of my spells to put pressure on players in PvP. The Moonlight Greatsword for me, while it is very powerful and is like a lot of fun to use, it's more for me a backup weapon in PvP, because when players are kind of coming at you and they're putting the pressure on you in melee range, then you can whip out this sword and keep them back. Because basically when you hit them with this and they take quite a lot of damage just with an R1 swing, they're like shit and rolling away. And as soon as they do that, you switch back to your staff and then you're putting pressure on them again at range. And I feel like that works pretty good as a strategy for PvP. So yeah, having to spend quite so much FP per cast is a hassle and it's a bit of a pain. But if you want to be a straight sorcerer, like a pure sorcerer, then you do need a big FP pool, and that's the reason why I have quite so much. I understand the criticisms. It's not like I disagree. I just feel like that this suits my playstyle, so that's why I've done it. And I don't think calling my build shit is really justified because it's just a different way of playing. So yeah, I'm quite happy to have slightly less vigor and slightly less endurance and have more attunement. That's just what works for me. All of my other stats are unchanged for faith. As I said, I just like you take 1 point out of faith there so that I can have 16 strength and only be 125. I mean, I could be 126, but I just never used pyromancies. I did put that one point in there so that I could use a few extra pyromancies. I think there's like a flame swaith or whatever it's called in this game that I could use, and a few others, but I just found that I never used sorceries because they are locked behind 3 rings, and those 3 rings are the clutch rings and the boost and greatly boost rings. So for sorcery it's the young dragon ring and the bellowing dragon crest ring. For pyromancy it's the great swamp ring and the witch's ring, and there's 2 for miracles as well. And then obviously the clutch ring, there's a fire clutch ring, there's a lightning clutch ring, there's a dark clutch ring. If you don't have those 3 rings equipped for your particular school, then you're going to be doing a lot less damage. So I feel like that's From Software's way of kind of saying, you know, we don't want you being kind of a master of everything. We want you to be able to specialize in one particular area. And I'm fine with that. I'm happy to really specialize in sorcery. You can obviously have other rings equipped and just do less damage. I mean, people are fine with doing less damage. I prefer the glass cannon kind of playstyle. I want to hit like a train and, you know, have to roll away and keep my distance, because if they hit me, I'm probably going to die. So I just enjoy that. I think that's a throwback from when I used to play World of Warcraft, because I used to be a mage in World of Warcraft. And yeah, I just really enjoy that dynamic and that kind of excitement in the play style of knowing that you can hit them like a train, but they can also hit you like a train. But yeah, I enjoy that. So that's everything really I wanted to cover in this video. Yeah, there's my stats again. I hope that that's been helpful to you, because I had lots of comments, people telling me that my videos have been really helpful to them, and that really is gratifying, because that's the reason I wanted to do this, because I really wanted to help people to get the most out of their sorcerer class, because I could see few people were really disappointed with sorcerers in Dark Souls 3, but I've really enjoyed playing my sorcerer. I've really had a lot of fun in Dark Souls 3, and hopefully you will too. So yeah, I'll see you in my next video. So until then, take care guys, bye for now.